Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be part 6 of the Honda Talon build. We got lots to catch up on, so we'll go ahead and get right into the video. Today I'm going to work on getting the car. I'm going to do some more root passes on all the tubes I can get to, and then when I'm done doing that, I'm going to get the car set on the ground. I'm going to crawl up into the attic to my garage, and I'm going to run a tube across a few joists and hang a chain hoist from there and use that to lift the cage off the car. And I'll roll the car out, set the cage on the ground or on my workbench, and get to doing all the final cover passing on all the major welding areas. And then I need to build a whip mount, a few other things, and get this thing put back on the car and hopefully assembled for next weekend for our Glamis trip. So I'm super excited for that. I still have a lot of work to do. Car won't be 100% done, but I want to get back out in the desert. So we're gonna take the time to take this Glamis trip and get the juices flowing, and the off-road juices flowing again. The exhaust is all done, so I'll add some video of that. And otherwise, hope you guys enjoy. I can do a little time lapse of me getting the joists and the joist hoists, I guess, set up in the garage, and hopefully the cage comes off pretty simply. Hopefully it doesn't weigh too much. And estimating the cage probably weighs about 130, 150 pounds. So we'll see. Alrighty guys, there you have it. Came off pretty easy. I did scratch the panels with the harness mounts, so I'll have to address that later on, but relatively came off pretty easy. I'm hoping it'll just click back into position once I get it onto the car. I knew the balance point was going to be somewhere in the bed area, but I wanted the front to lift up higher to get the A-pillar supports up over the back of the car, so I could just roll the car out. But all in all, the thing came right off. The cage, when I unbolted everything, there wasn't really a whole lot of movement, so that's good to know that this thing's kind of set up in a resting position on the chassis, so it's not forcing the chassis in any sort of direction. I am going to probably get this thing set up and start welding this thing out now. There are still have a few areas where I just couldn't get comfortable, or I couldn't reach with where the cage and the bodywork was. So I do have to finish up some root pass stuff here and there, but otherwise I'm going to just get back on this thing now that it's off. I'm super pumped that it came off so easy. My little hoist setup worked flawlessly. I will eventually probably make like a cool little aluminum cover. I may do like a whole panel up there, aluminum panel, and mount a hose reel and an extension reel out of there, and just make one big panel for all that to kind of hang on. But we'll mess with that later. We got plenty of time to do that kind of stuff in the house. I'm going to move the ladders out of the way and free up more space in here, and lay down a sheet or a wool blanket to lay this thing on, and I'm going to start welding it out. So stay tuned. guys, we got this thing all set up on the table and flipped upside down. I got all the root passing done on everything that I can get to in this position. I do have some more root passes to do when I flip it over, just so I can get a little bit better positioning on some of these welds. And then I think before I flip it over though, I'm going to wire wheel every joint that I can get to on this side, so that when I flip it over, I can finish up. I do have to drop this end back down so I can work on getting this little rear bulkhead set up, welded out on first pass, and then I'll flip it over. I think there's some weld joints I need to finish up on the top sides of the center tubes there, and then these long B-pillar tubes need a small weld finished up on them. But once I do that, I'm going to wire wheel everything, and then we'll be on the road to all my finish passing and get this thing mounted back on the car. Hopefully midday tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night, I'll have this thing back on the car and we can start putting the car back together. Still a lot of stuff to do. But all the root passing is going pretty good. I'm not taking too much time to make sure that it looks super pretty, just because we're going to go back over all of them anyhow. So, but it's we're making some headway here. We're gonna get this thing wire wheeled and flip back over and just get back to welding. We got a lot of it to do, so I'll see you later.
All right, guys, there you go. I got the cage back on. It went on pretty easily. I had my dad and buddy help me put it on. Went pretty smoothly. Everything lined right back up pretty easily. I had to kind of pry a little bit, but I did build a jig to hold it from warping too much while I was welding it. But it's ready to go now. So I gotta finish up tightening up all the suspension. I'm gonna start pulling out all the bodywork and start taking on the task of getting this thing all the plastic put back on this thing. I don't remember exactly where everything goes, but we'll get it figured out. Stuff usually clicks together pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see how many extra rivets and stuff we have. Put it in the comments. How many extra nuts and bolts? How much extra hardware am I going to have left over after all this? How many extra plastic rivets? I know there's going to be a few because we're not putting all the same panels back on, but otherwise it shouldn't be too bad. But anyway, so I'm going to set the camera back up and get back to work to put this thing back together. Alrighty guys, so I was actually not able to get the car ready for that Glamis trip. We ended up canceling it because I had to put down my dog. He was a 12-year-old yellow lab. He lived a great life. He just got real sick pretty quickly. I tried everything I could to keep him around, but unfortunately, ultimately we had to put him down. So this is going to be some of the last scenes in this episode are going to be some of the last days that him and I got to hang out in the garage. So kind of a bummer, but on more positive note, the car is put back together, and I used it over Thanksgiving, and it turned out just super killer. I mean, it looks really good. It handles really good. The bigger tires did rob a little bit of power. But the added ground clearance and the comfort in the ride with the seats, it's just, this is a completely different car than in what it was. The way I designed the chassis, and even up here, I didn't really get to show much of it in this video, but I did also add this cross member that ties in the upper shock mounts in the front all the way up to the corner of the dash bar, or the stock dash bar in the chassis, which then kind of ties it up into the rest of the car. And it adds such a more rigid feel to the front of the car I mean, the whole cage. I mean, it's really just, it handles like a full chassis built car.
it's pretty crazy. I knew the stock chassis was pretty flimsy and flexy, but now that I've driven the car like this, it's not absolutely night and day. The power, mid-range power and low-end power is really good with the exhaust and tune that's on it. It's super fun to drive. It handles the bumps really well. But like I said, we are down on power with the added tire height, but we'll address that here soon enough. The only other thing that we have is I got the spare tire mounted. I built a nice little stainless pin in here for the quick strap to hold down to, and I just ran a tube across. I'll eventually do a whole sheet of aluminum on there to kind of separate, keep any of that exhaust heat from coming up and deteriorating or affecting the spare tire rubber on the sidewall from heat. But radios are in, they worked super good. I do have a little issue with the antenna wire. I need to reroute it, I think. But inside the car, it was really good. The seats are super comfortable. It's just, man, I can't say enough how fun this car is to drive now. It is a little bit of an adjusted curve because I have a little more weight up top, so, and the taller tires, so I had to really relearn how to drive the car a little bit. But other than that, man, these things are just having a transmission and just being able to drive this car in the way that you can it's really just a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know we're still not done with the car, but I'm actually at least able to use it. I'm going to be trying to get a good deal on some aluminum because material prices are just crazy. But in the next episode, we're going to move forward with all of the sheet metal work, and that should be pretty fun. I'm also going to be I got my lights figured out, and also I got to build a front bumper. So not a shortage of things to get working on this thing, but all in all, we are making some headway. I have some product designing that I'm doing for these things, so hopefully I'll have a small line of stuff, cool little add-ons for these cars. So thank you guys again. I hope you guys like the car. I think it turned out really good. It looks aggressive. It rides nice. It's fun, so fun to drive, and it sounds really good too. But other than that, that'll be it for this episode. I really appreciate all your guys' support. So go ahead and please like, comment, share, all that stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Follow me over on Instagram at SH Fabrications, and I do a lot more updating there than I do with the videos. It's a lot of work to get the videos done. So other than that, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.